Welcome to Hey Clarity. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today we are opening the Akashic Records on the nervous system. The questions that we're going to ask, whatever the opening message or opening visual is, what is the nervous system from the Akashic Records perspective? How can we best care for our nervous system? What causes the most harm to our nervous system? Why are we having so many issues with our nervous systems? What's the fastest way to calm our nervous system? And what's the most important message we need to know? So let's get into it. Opening message, opening visual. That's so funny. I had like an automatic, like an experience of the calming the nervous system. That's really funny. They're showing me like the different ways that they're saying like involuntary reactions, like the different ways that our bodies have these unconscious involuntary responses, they're saying. When our nervous systems are unbalanced, they're like teetering. Like our bodies will have symptoms of trying to reclaim balance. And so one of them is like taking a deep breath, and even the sigh, that feeling of release. And then they're also showing me like breathing and crying, like kind of like the like that, and then tears coming down. And they're just saying like it's so like the mass cathartic response or reaction to the like symptoms of stress. So like our bodies have their ways of doing that, and they're kind of saying something like we like repress, like there's so much repression around our involuntary reactions to stressful situations. Like our bodies are doing this all the time. And they're saying that we're always just like, we're so like self-conscious about like judgment and like how we're perceived, like to be perceived, that we will stop these involuntary natural responses or reactions to stress. We will suppress them. We will oppress ourselves from having these healthy, natural, instinctual reactions to our environment and the world around us. So that's the opening visual, opening message. And again, like they're showing me a person, an adult, just kind of sitting there like, but they're crying, there's tears coming down their face. So they're just saying this is a very important reaction to have, and to not have it, to not be reactive, is very unhealthy for our nervous system. These are involuntary responses, involuntary reactions. Our bodies are having these symptoms, experiencing the symptoms of stressful situations, and our bodies need to have these involuntary natural releases. They're very healthy. The other way, repressing them, is unhealthy. So what is the nervous system? What is the nervous system? They're saying it's reactions to the environment. They're showing like the different depths. I'm almost feeling this feeling of like on the surface, like they're saying cells, like stimulation of cells, or like mind cells, like these, like we almost like the surface level. They're saying like reactors, like activators, eyes, mind, like sensation, sensual, environment, like all of they're showing this like our outer casing, they're saying, has all these like high sensitivities to things. Like we have these different levels of perceiving our environment and experiencing our environment. And there's like, they're saying there's like energetic, there's like space and time. And then there's like, it gets closer to impact on us. And they're saying sometimes it comes out from the mind. They're saying like memories, we have memories of things. So sometimes we project, and then there's like this feedback loop that triggers. They're like trigger, warning, trigger. So there's like the external, like being absorbed, to internal. information messages about stressful situations. But then there's also, they're saying like this like creative mind, this creative mind kind of overthinking and having this feedback loop where we are, they're saying creative reactions. Creative, like over reactions, over creative reactions, where we think the things, they're kind of showing like tornadoes in our minds. And it almost like whips the environment into a frenzy where now we're just like, it's like there's this core with the mind. And it's having an effect on our environment. And I'm getting like our perception, we perceive that we're to be threatened by something. Like whether or not it is true, whether or not it is truly in the environment. So going back to the question, what is the nervous system? They're saying like active reactions to the environment, internal, external, but they're saying cells, like stimuli, stimulus, sensory sensations. And it's almost like I have this like skin, like my skin is collecting all of this like information. And it's like this outer layer of us is collecting all this information. It's like to the brain, like brain function. It's like the whole body system. They're saying like the bodily system cues the mind of these external factors. They're just saying stimuli, stimulus, like cell, stimuli, stimulus. And it's like, they're saying it's like a cellular system. It's like we really like hype up this nervous system, the sensations, our sensory reactions to things, they hype us up on like a cellular level. And that's why it has this like mind-body system impact. And they're like the wires, the cells, sensations, like the different levels of how we take in information or create information. And then they just keep saying like feedback loop is this feedback loop. How can we best care for our nervous system? Very big. It was just like breathe, like the word breathe. And then there's like vibrations coming off of breathe. When we're breathing, so we're taking in the air, I'm getting there's different levels of breathing. There's different types of breathing. And that's why everyone's so obsessed with breathing and breath work right now. It's like learning to breathe. We're relearning how to breathe. So what they're showing is the word breathe, and it has this vibration around it. And it's like when we breathe in, we open, we expand, we release, we create this like field. They're saying field force around us, some space in between the overthinking, space in between the experience of what we're reacting to. It gives us, they're kind of saying it opens up space to gather more information, more like calm, like awareness, self-awareness, they're saying, awareness, self-awareness. We create this space for more information to come through. And they're kind of saying like cool, calm, collected. Versus like there's something like when we're not breathing and we're like constricted and tight and like everything goes like this inside of us. Everything. There's no room to move. There's no room for information to come in to tell us otherwise. We're just like, it's like there's like the thing and then there's the reaction and everything constricts and it's like hyper focused. They're saying like hyper vigilant. And they're just like, you know, kind of like on guard, barriers up, like everything is just closed. There's no space. There's no openness to receive messages or information, more information. Again, they're like, and then there's like to be like cool, collective, cool, calm, collected, creative versus like focused on one thing, like It's just the difference between expansion and like possibilities and more information versus like hyper vigilant, fixed and focused on this one thing. And it's just like, it's so restrictive to our minds and our bodies. So how can we best care for our nervous system? Is they're just saying like, breathe, like different levels of breathing. And it's kind of like they're saying you have your involuntary, but you can also kind of like give it a boost by like, you know, you have to like tell your mind to tell your body system like, okay, we're going to breathe now. And we're going to breathe like this. So there's a little bit of like, you can train yourself to breathe and have like a controlled breathing. But they're also saying like your body has all these like involuntary body systems that do it for you. And so it's really like kind of like intercepting. You can intercept this constriction by like reminding yourself how to breathe. I'm getting that the mind really creates this reactive behavior in our nervous systems where we tense up so tight, like we can't breathe and get any air in our systems. They're saying like circulation of the systems, like circulatory system, like everything like open and flowing and moving. Like that's what we want. And so we can practice and train ourselves to have controlled breathing with this. And then also it happens involuntary, but I'm getting that we have a lot of like deep conditioning around like hiding our behaviors, like hiding our natural behaviors and like all the involuntary things that want to happen through our body system, our mind and body, that we don't let, they're kind of saying like, you don't let the body system live. Like we just cramp up, clamp down, create all this tension in our systems. So how can we best care for our nervous system? They're saying breathe, learn to breathe again. And like, let yourself breathe. They're like, give yourself space, give yourself time, like give yourself this opening, give yourself the open, expansive states that allow you to breathe and calm your nervous system. So they're saying like space and time, like the key is like space and time. And what is space and time in your life? You know, all the ways that you experience giving yourself space. What does that mean? All of the ways that you experience time, giving yourself more time. What does that mean? They're saying like plenty of time, like even more time, giving yourself even more time. What causes the most harm to our nervous system? What causes the most harm to our nervous system? They're talking about neuroplasticity, feedback loops, deeply ingrained in our brains, deep conditioning. And they're showing like our neuro pathways in our brain, right? So there's like this, you know, you think something, you believe something, you keep believing something, you keep experiencing something, this like repetitive behavior, those trenches in our brains, the neural pathways go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it's like really painful. Like I'm almost getting like, you get to this like imagine like a trench that you're digging deeper. When you get to the bottom, it's like sensory overload. Like you feel physical pain. Like I feel like I just, like in my brain, like I got to a place where it's so low that it's like really irritating my brain and like it hurts. Like I'm feeling physical pain. Is it a headache? You know, it turns into like, they're saying like a material sensation, like material form, like physical form, like it actually impacts like the pain in our bodies, pain in our brain, pain in our bodies. But it's like you keep digging those deep, you're going to get to a point where you reach the sensitivity layer, like the most raw, like highly sensitive part of you, of that thought process or belief system, whatever it is that you just, you know, kind of keep doing these old behavioral patterns, like overthinking, over-focusing. So what causes the most harm to our nervous system? They're just saying like the deep conditioning, and like they're saying like no neuroplasticity. Like you have to have these, like you have to start opening to like more options, like more possibilities. Like you have to give your brain the space to open up to more. There are other things to think about. There are other ways to do things. There are other ways to experience things. And they're like, creative, be creative, be creative. Like your creativity is something that really, they're saying, sparks new neural pathways. So trying something new, trying new ideas, getting inspired. There's just saying there's like so much in the world. There's so much in this world. There's so much in like the human body and about the human body that like there are so many new ways to be thinking about things, so many new ways to be doing things. But we have this deep conditioning that there's like one or two ways. Like they're saying very binary. Like we're very like, oh, it's this or that. It's black or white. It's yes or no. And they're like, oh my God, like that's so limited and it's causing so much harm to our nervous systems when it's like we're focused on one thing. Like they're almost saying like doom, you know, like for example, like the way of the world and like, you know, they're like bombarded with fear and confusion in the media and wars and violence and climate change and fires and all these things. And so we think that's the one thing, that's the only thing that's going to happen. And they're just like, what the fuck? There's so many possibilities. There are so many other ways to go. There are so many options. Like there's like endless creative ways of doing things, of seeing things, of thinking about things. There are endless new ways of being. And they're like, you have to like step off that one way path, that one or two way. You have to step off. They're like, go with the third thing, go with the fourth thing, fifth thing, 10th thing, 20th thing, like try new ways, try new things. What's causing the most harm to our nervous system is that we're so locked into this deep conditioning of like one way of being or like one or two ways of being. And they're just like, that's not even the point of like human working, like human beings. They're saying like a purposeful life. There are like new ways of being human in, you know, adaptability, creativity, like, you know, they're kind of saying like rising to the occasion, trying things new. And they're like, who gives a fuck what anybody thinks? You know, it's like you're trying something new, you're doing something different, you're doing it a different way. Like celebrate doing something new, doing something different, trying new things. They're saying like so many, like the problem is like our nervous systems, our environment, our whole world is so fixed on this one fucking thing or these two things or like very limited belief systems. And it's like we, like our physical being, our human body system cannot like relate to that. Like that's not what we're made of. That's not what we're made for. I'm getting that we're very multidimensional. We're very dynamic, creative creatures. Like we have this creation expression, like these ways of being, the old, you know, the new, the future, the present. Like we have like so, like they're saying multiple possibilities in any one thing, always. And it requires us to like breathe and have that openness and that space just to like let it come in, let it come through you, let it come up and out of you, let it come out of your heart, let it come out of like, you know, your body wants to express itself in some way, you know, your words want to come out in some way, you want to think something different. And it's like we have these ways of like unfolding and opening, and like sharing and giving generously these things that we want to like create or like see in the world, but we're so fear fixated on like judgment and other people's projections and whatever. And they're just like fuck that, like totally fuck that. Like they're like, we need people who, you know, utilize their creative forms of self-expression, who have new ways of being, who have new ways of living, who have new ideas, because it's the differences, it's our different ways of being that support how multidimensional and dynamic we are. They're like day to day, hour to hour, week to week, year to year. Like we're growing and evolving and changing and expanding. And like that's what our like mind body systems like want to do. Like even with the challenges, they're kind of saying like this is feeling very like collective purposey right now. So they're like, all of you human beings, like y'all came down for this like crazy shit where like things are so like black or white, dualistic, like wars, violence, like all these feedback loops, like things are really unhealthy. And you came down to be like, all right, basically assessing the situation, like this is what's going on in the world right now. And we came down to actually do things differently. We came down to grow and evolve and expand this, not to buy into it, not to be like, yes, this is the way. Like we're reaching these like deep levels of pain and suffering for us to go, there's got to be something else. Like our physical bodies, the human body cannot relate to, cannot function, cannot highly function in a world that is so non-dualistic. So dualistic. Black or white. This is so restrictive. They're like, it's like imprisonment for the human body to be like, things are this or that. And that's really doing the most harm to our nervous system. That was intense. Okay. So why are we having so many issues with our nervous systems? We're having these overreactions to this repression, this tension, this oppression. And they're saying self, because they're like, there's something about like, we love to blame shit on other people. We love to blame it on, they're just saying, we love to blame it on others instead of taking responsibility for yourself. They're basically saying like, you own you. You own yourself. Your life is yours. Whatever you choose to do with your life and how you choose to live it is completely up to you. That is your choice. Nobody dictates how you're living. Nobody. And they're like, at a certain age, like you realize that. When you come of age, you realize that you have the freedom to be whoever you want to be. You have the freedom to be who you are. Some people recognize it at a very young age as children, and some people recognize it later in life. But they're saying the bottom line is you have full freedom to express creative thinking, to create new ways of being and new ways of living in this world. And almost like that's the point, is like, maybe I'm even getting that like, kind of like collectively, some of the most sensitive, high level, they're saying, intelligent souls came down on purpose in this life to feel the sensitivity, to feel the pain and suffering, to do something about it. Not to bitch and whine and complain and blame, but to break down, break out, break through, and create something new. So they're kind of like boo-hoo, like, oh, victim, like oppression, tension, whatever. They're like, yes, in some places it's very real, and in a lot of other places it's completely superficial. They're like, wah, crybaby, like, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and start creating something new in this world. Do it differently. And they're like, especially with the younger generations, like, they're like, you're going to be the adults. You're going to be the ones running the world. There's always this cycle of, you know, who are the minds that are going to be leading the world in the future? You know, are we going to have we're all going to die from war and all these things and starvation and, you know, lack of water and climate change. And then they're just like, oh my God, that's actually not the point of being here. The point of being here is like creativity and evolving and new ways of being. And it's kind of like, you know, like save yourself by utilizing your creativity and these new ideas. And don't be so afraid of being outside of the box, because they're saying if you're outside of the box, you're healthy. You're likely more healthy than the unhealthy who are trapped in this tight little box. They're showing like people, conforming to these normal, restrictive, black and white, blaming others, pointing fingers, blah, blah, blah. They're not doing anything to make things better, to actually change things and move us forward. And our nervous systems are like the very core of the human body, telling your soul, something's wrong. This is not right. This is not wrong. I mean, this is wrong. And like you're put in situations where like, that feels right for my nervous system. That feels really bad for my nervous system. I'm gonna go here. This feels right. This is better for human evolution, for growing and evolving as a species. So in those places where your nervous system can relax, where you can open and be receptive and be creative, they're like, we need you to be in those places. We need you to pay attention to your nervous system, the triggers, the warnings, so that you know where to go and where not to go, basically to do the work that you came down here to do, is what they're saying. This is a very like soul purpose reading, which is fascinating. So it's like collective purpose and how our nervous systems are like on purpose, like the sensitivity is on purpose. They're saying it's not a fault. It's not a faulty reaction. They're saying like desperately seeking peace. And it's like, it's almost like, okay, so either you navigate life where it's like tension, triggering my nervous system. That's nice. Like I can be creative and create things. But then there's also like, if you're stuck in a place where there's a lot of tension and the nervous system is reacting all the time, they're like, can you get creative on how to overcome this environment? What tools and resources and ideas and abilities can you remember? Or can you figure out or create to counter the impact of the triggers in your environment? So there's a lot of things going on that we're navigating here, but they're saying like, the oversensitivity is on purpose. Like these things aren't supposed to feel good because they're not good for human evolution. They're not good for humanity. They're saying they're not good for humankind, human kindness, human compassion, human being love. So we're so in the wrong direction as human beings, as humanity. And they're like, gotta go the other direction. Like we've been breeding generations of people who can tolerate this atmosphere, who can tolerate this environment. And they're saying it's not love. And they're showing, this is so interesting. I haven't seen this in a long time. So there's a dinosaur reading, go read that, of just like kind of why the dinosaurs became extinct. Check that out, because they're showing me the dinosaurs and they were just like, part of why this like, they're like over godly choice to like destroy and eradicate the dinosaurs was because they were just pure, vicious, violent creatures. They were just tearing things out and they were just like, it's such a beautiful planet. And then you just have these creatures that are just like monstrous. So they were like, we got to get rid of them. So that's how that happened. And so part of it was like, okay, human beings, humans evolving. And like, they're like oversimplified, very simple. Like, they have this like natural intelligence and they like fit so nicely in the ecosystem when they support it and stuff like that. And then I'm just getting like something happened, something twisted in humanity's evolution that just went the wrong fucking direction, like so far in the wrong direction, because they're like human beings, love, nurturing, tribe, connection, belonging. Like there's just like this sense of growth and evolution. Like we were on this great trajectory of being this like naturally intelligent, useful, purposeful species on the planet. And they're kind of like blew it off. Like we just blew it off. We got caught up in things. They're kind of saying like things that like don't really exist. Like the civilizations we've built around, they're kind of like money and like all these like systems and structures that like we really, this is going pretty deep, we have no need for, like in reality, when it comes to like survival. We're just so, they're saying the deep conditioning is so deep, but we're really far from our nature of like being love beings, being these loving, nurturing human beings. And they're like, yeah, like they're showing like a human, like, you know, caveman days, like hunting for food, but they're like, that's also like the natural order and like the natural world and natural ecosystems with all the animals, like you're part of that. Okay, I want to reel it in a little bit. What's the fastest way to calm our nervous system? What's the fastest way? Like if we're in a pinch and we're having a panic attack and we're freaking out, what's the fastest way? They're saying like look up into the sky or look far away. Like if you're like by like a landscape where you can like stretch your eyes into the distance, they want you to see space, like see that there's space. They want you to see like openness, open space and time, and like take a deep breath. They're kind of saying like become open, like be open, become open with that space. Like embody space and time. Give yourself space and time. Another time, what's the fastest way to calm our nervous systems? They're just saying like open. They're even saying like if you might want to close your eyes. Some people might feel that they can get this place by closing their eyes and feeling this openness and this space. It's kind of like I'm shutting it all out. But then there's also, if you have like a landscape to look at, if you have something beautiful to look at, they're like, look outside, stretch your eyes. Just see that there is space. See that you have space. Take your space. Take up space. Because they're like, you know, in spirit, as spirit, like we're so expansive. We're so big. We have all this like space to be. And we can get really caught up in our containers, our vessels, our bodies, and feel kind of constricted. And our nervous systems reacting to the triggers and the warnings around us can make us very conscious of the fact that we're kind of like locked into our container of a body. So this is like a spirit, human body kind of dissociation, disconnection. This is like a spirit in a body conversation. So reminding yourself, like they're almost like let your spirit, let your soul, let it all like move through your pores, like they're saying meditate. Yes, meditate. But even still, it's like you want to just kind of open up space around you in your system. Find a way to open up space and give yourself more time to be in that open space. Okay, what's the most important message we need to know about the nervous system? Because we're so highly sensitive, they're like, it's yours and it's ours. We share these connections. Because we're so sensitive, they're saying like we're very contagious with our energetic reactions to things. And so it means a lot to be cool, calm, and collected in a space where people are basically losing their shit. They're saying you have a really big impact if you can bring yourself into balance, into homeostasis, allow for those involuntary, like mind-body system responses and reactions to take place. They're showing the example of like, you know, if you're sitting on the train, sitting on the subway, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for a second. If you like close your eyes and take a deep breath, and then you relax and you feel really good, just kind of open up that space. Anyone else near you will feel that, and anyone else looking at you will feel that, and you'll have an impact on them and inspire their systems to do the same. They're saying like it's a chain reaction. So you might, they're kind of like, try this as an experiment. Like just be somewhere where there's a lot of people around you. If you're on the bus, on the train, if you're just like sitting and relaxing somewhere. And if you notice like people around you, just, you know, take some nice deep breaths. And see how like you calming down calms down people around you. So the most important message is that they're kind of saying we are chain reactions, and our energetic chain reactions are contagious and very impactful. So be aware of that. Remember open space. You know, you want to give everything in your body some space to breathe, some openness to breathe. They're just like open space, open space, open space. Whatever open space means to you in that moment, give that to your nervous system. And then they're saying, like, nervous system, they're like, yours is ours because of our interconnection. And they're like global, like interglobal, like we are so deeply connected. Okay. That was the Akashic Records on the nervous system. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how that resonated in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.